Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurhafizah Husna binti Hasan. I am the first presenter.
My name is Nurul Aqilah binti Jasman. I am the second presenter.
First of all, let me tell a little bit about our research background. Inclusive Education Program is an education program for special Based on the problem statement, the government have implemented the zero reject policy in order to ensure the children with special needs to have equal access to learn. So to implement the policy, school need to equip the sufficient resources, and the mainstream school teachers do not have the skills to deal with the students with special needs. Parents also act as the major roles in order to help the children to face their difficulties. So, because of this problem, the negative attitudes of special needs students will make them feel exclusion and discriminate and lowering their self-confidence. In fact, there are five components of inclusive education program, which are student placement, teacher, teaching and learning, assessment, and parent support, which are included in the research objectives. Additionally, we want to identify the most challenging factors based on the components of IEP above. So, the research question is the reflections of the research objectives.
This slide shows the conceptual framework for this study. Independent variable consists of student placement, teachers, teaching and learning, assessment, and parent support, while dependent variable is the challenges faced by special needs students. This table shows the hypothesis statement used in this study. The null hypothesis represents there is no significant and positive relationship between independent variable and dependent variable, while alternative hypothesis represent there is significant and positive relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. Next is research method. This study used cross-sectional sample survey by using quantitative method. Cross-sectional sample survey will tell immediately about some key element for the study, and the data collection will be collected within the time in order to answer the research objective. The study is based on individual orientation, which refer to the parents and teachers who involved in inclusive education program at SMK Bandar Baru Sarat Tinggi and SMK Putra Perdana. For the sample size, the total number of population who involved in inclusive education program at SMK Bandar Baru Sarat Tinggi and SMK Putra Perdana is about 95%. By applying a formula used by Granger and Morgan, 77 respondents were chosen as sample size for this study. Next is sampling technique. There are two types of sampling technique used in this study. First is convenience sampling. Parents and teachers population will sample using convenience sampling, and the researcher will collect information from them as conveniently as possible. Another type of sampling technique used in this study is purposive sampling. Purposive sampling is one of the type of convenience sampling technique. In purposive sampling, the respondent is selected based on specific characteristics needed to conduct a study. Thus, parents and teachers who involved in inclusive education program at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Bandar Baru Sarat Tinggi and SMK Putra Perdana were chosen to conduct a study. Likert scale were used to measure both independent variable and dependent variable, where number 1 is strongly disagree, number 2 disagree, number 3 moderate, number 4 agree, and number 5 strongly agree. For the data collection, the researcher choose questionnaire as method to collect data, where it consists of 7 sections. Section A is demographic profile, Section B challenges faced by special needs students, Section C student placement, Section D teachers, Section E. Teaching and learning. Section F. Assessment. And the last section is parent support. The questionnaire will be distributed to the parents and teachers who involved in inclusive education through Google Form. For the data analysis used in this study is descriptive statistics, Pearson correlation, and multiple regression. Descriptive statistics used to examine the challenges faced by special needs students in inclusive education program, while Pearson correlation used to examine the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable, and lastly, multiple regression used to identify the most challenging factor for special needs students in inclusive education program. Based on the finding, most of the respondents were female, which are 44 respondents. Next, most of the respondents were in the age of 41 to 50 years old, which represent 40.7%. In addition, the respondents who involved in inclusive education program represent teachers with 33 respondents, and the remaining represent parents with 26 respondents. For the level of education, the respondent who have certificate or university level is the highest with 72.9%. Furthermore, it shows that the experience of the respondent with special needs student for 10 to 15 years is the highest, while the lowest is more than 20 years. Lastly, most of the respondent is from SMK Bandar Baru Salak Tinggi with 35 respondents, and the remaining from SMK Putra Perdana with 24 respondents. Next is hypothesis testing. The first objective is to examine the relationship between student placement and the challenges faced by special needs students. It is analyzed using Pearson correlation, and the results show the value of P is 0.001, while the value of R is 0.417. Therefore, alternative hypotheses are accepted. Number 2 is to examine the relationship between teachers' attitude and the challenges faced by special needs students. It also uses Pearson correlation, and the results show the value of P is 0.002, while the value of R is 0.398. Therefore, alternative hypotheses are accepted. The third objective is to examine the relationship between teaching and learning content and the challenges faced by special needs students. It also uses Pearson correlation. The results show the value of P is 0.798, while the value of R is 0.035. Therefore, alternative hypotheses are rejected while non-hypotheses are accepted. The fourth objective is to examine the relationship between assessment type and the challenges faced by special needs students. It also uses Pearson correlation, and the results show the value of P is 0.000, while the value of R is 0.668. Therefore, alternative hypotheses are accepted. The fifth objective is to investigate parent support towards their special needs child. It also uses Pearson correlation, and the results show the value of P is 0.971, while the value of R is 0.005. Therefore, alternative hypotheses are rejected, while null hypotheses are accepted. The last objective is to identify the most challenging factor to the special needs student in inclusive education program. It is analyzed using multiple regression. The results show the significant value for student placement is 0.315, teachers 0.581, and assessment 0.000. Therefore, based on the value of significant, assessment is identified as the most challenging factor for the special needs student in inclusive education program.
As for research recommendation, for the first one is to improve the opportunities for the special needs student to cope with the assessment. So the school can collaborate with the private companies in order for the special needs student to choose their career, such as in majoring in science. So that, for example, they can involve in the science fairs or science classes at the university. Second one is to examining the process and protocols of student placement in the classroom, so that special needs students can create a safe and comfortable environment when they are with the regular student in the same classroom. This is important because it can help to implement the IEP program to be a systematic and effective manner. And lastly, establish the positive attitude towards inclusive teachers, which are focused in three main elements, which are first is teachers receptiveness is about teacher willingness to teach the special needs students same as the regular student. And the second one is skillfulness. The teacher must obtain the Malaysia Skills Certification System SKM accreditations before they supervise the special needs student in the same classroom. And the lastly is environmental assistance is the condition where the positive environment is applied by having the supportive classmate and they are being accepted by the regular students. There are five elements under the research limitation, which are the first one is common method variance. This is because they are used as a respondent to answer the question in both pilot study and real study. So in the future, the researchers are recommend to use the same sources of information to avoid the common method variance. And the second one is lack of sample size. This is because the study only conducted at two schools, which are SMK Bandar Salat Tinggi and SMK Putra Perdana. So there is limitation number of sample size because they are only focused on the teacher and parents on the both school. So in the future, the researcher recommend to increase the number of respondents by widen the area. The third one is quantitative survey. Uh, in this quantitative, the respondents have no spaces to share their belief or opinion so that the researcher can face other problems when they have a lack of information and misunderstanding. So as for the recommendation, the researcher can use qualitative survey so that they can know the response or opinion of the respondents. And the fourth one is a limited research model. The researcher find difficulties because when making research paper because there is limited to research model to be referred of. So in the future, researcher can do more journals searching before choose this topic. And lastly is time constraints. This is because of the pandemic COVID-19, the researchers are required to choose areas of ordinary million. So it involves a long distance to cover this research. So therefore, in the future, researchers can widen the area of getting information. In conclusion, all the chapter when conducting this study as well as the broader statement has been discussed precisely with the support evidence in the literature review. This study also can help the researcher to gain the knowledge because of there is insufficient study conducted on this topic in our country. So, based on the result, this research only achieved three objectives, which are relationship of the student placement, teacher and assessment toward the challenges faced by special needs students. And the most challenging factor that which are related is assessment. So I think that's all from us. Thank you.